Okay, everybody. Welcome to, is it Labor Day weekend this Friday? I think it is, right? Welcome to Friday of Labor Day weekend. And before you all go off to the beach, whatever part of the country you're in, I want to introduce you to my good friend, Robert Belcuore, who, I don't know, maybe that was already 3 years ago when we did the last podcast. But I got away from the podcast a little bit, but we're going to have some fun today. And we're going to talk about, his journey. Him and I have known each other for 150 years, it seems, and where we're at today with Cornerstone Financial. So welcome to our little podcast, Mr. Robert Belcuore.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to talk to you today. I miss you. You look great.
Thank you.
Water's got miracles for you, my friend.
We're trying hard. And well, let's just start out by saying happy birthday, because it's his 28th birthday today.
Happy birthday. Yep. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
So I just want to put it on record that he's sitting in a house, and I'm not going to tell you what the interest rate is, but he's sitting in a house that is the lowest interest rate that I ever got anybody. And I actually believe that it will be the lowest that I ever get anybody, considering the rates are much higher now.
You know what I say, Frank? Pick your friends wisely.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know. Like, if you ever sell that house, maybe I'll take 20%. That's okay. Totally fine. So cool. So let's go back in time. We're going to show our age right now to the mid 90s. Rob gets done playing college football, played football at UConn, had a great career there, played football in Europe, had a great career. And next thing you know, you're hustling in real estate. So what caused you to want to do that? Or were you just kind of winging it like I was?
You know, it's funny. I just watched for the first time The Big Short. I don't know if you saw it, Frank.
Oh, I saw it.
You did. So I didn't have to see it because I experienced it. So it took me this long to actually watch it.
So it was painful.
It was painful. It was. I would say, to answer your question, I don't know. I stumbled into it. I think when we got out, we were basically type A, looking to win at a high level. And there's really only three categories. You're going to go into business for yourself, you go into Wall Street, or you're going to go into real estate. Those were the three big ticket items that were coming out of, North Jersey. And I just chose real estate because of some of the books I had read, Rich Dad and Poor Dad. And I wanted that OPP, other people's money, and also the recurring income from the real estate. And that's kind of how I jumped into it, just by the books that I was reading. I do remember reading some Wall Street books, and it just didn't resonate with me. Owning stock wasn't as, let's say, sexy as being able to drive up and say, hey, this is my 25 unit, or this is my tax building. It was a little bit more conducive for my personality. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. And I remember the first house that you bought with Mr. Ron Spiaggi on Laurel Avenue.
Yeah.
I remember that house. And, it's crazy because, when people explain, I mean, we lived through it and it was painful. And then not only did I have real estate then, but I owned a big mortgage company, and, they equate it to just one day we were doing well, and the next day you get run over by a train. Like, it was like Roadrunner, like, boom. One day it was over, and you can't feel bad about it because companies like Bear Stearns went out of business, who were worth billions and billions of dollars. So, but the premise of Velocity Money was literally birthed from that experience for me, because, for me personally, I bought real estate in the 90s. It went up in value. I was like, oh, cool, I'll buy another one. That went up in value, and I thought I was smart. It had nothing to do with me, right? They went up in value. That we don't control that. But then in 2005, 6, and 7, I started buying for the wrong reasons. And then when things went down in value, I got caught upside down. And you had a much bigger portfolio than me. But when we look at, the premise of Velocity Money, it's all based on cash flow and yield. And if you have the cash flow, we can withstand like the cyclical nature of what's going up and down in value, because, we're not selling the property anyway. We're keeping it to get it paid off for generational wealth. So I think now we know, right? But how many people? I mean, I just talked to a gentleman last night down here in Sarasota that said it was unbelievable. You had people even in Florida that looked, and then a month later they couldn't pay their mortgage. But that's America's afraid of real estate because that's what they look at. They look at this. Oh, values are high right now. Maybe I should wait. Historically, it's going to climb, but if we base it on the right premise, then we're good to go. So anyway, it's not about velocity money today. It's about you. So sorry, I go off on.
No, it's all good. I think I want to piggyback off of the comment you said, though. I think not only do you have to have the yield, which is the cash flow, right? So that's one component. But I also think in order to get that yield, you either have to buy right or have a decent LTV on the property, right? So clearly, everybody, I like the little bit of money down. I understand that it's a leverage play, but you want to make sure that the yield's there, because if the yield's not there, you can't sustain. And then the third thing that I think is very important is you can't suck up all your liquidity. You can't take your liquidity to run your properties and buy property with your liquidity. And that's just a form of discipline. That's one of the things that I'm preaching now to my my advisors, my clients. I do a lot of coaching, as you know. That's a very important bucket, right? I would have sustained with having some liquidity to weather the storm, because it's not if the storm comes, it's when the storm comes. Yeah. So hopefully that helps some.
100%. And you and I are equally yoked in that way, because when I started doing loans in 2001, I was like, man, America's kind of broke. Right? And if anything, they have some equity in their home, or over time they have equity in their home. And it's, to me, if 90% of your net worth is buried in your backyard, it's literally, right, biblical, right? The master gives 3 servants money. One guy buries it, he gets in trouble. The other 2, one guy doubled the money for the master. And so, like, what you and your financial planners do, and we're gonna get to a lot of that, is a financial analysis, right? And if anything, I see people with, like, any of their net worth is buried in their backyard and they have no liquidity, which gets them in trouble. God forbid they lose their job, because then then you're stuck, right? So
let me ask you a question. So you're a real estate investor, right? So I'm sure there's some real estate investors on this call, and they're trying to buy and purchase. As a real estate investor, is a 401k considered a liquid bucket?
They would say no.
Is it?
I mean, well, actually, no, it's not, right?
It's not.
Yeah.
Right. You can't get to your 59 and a half. So now you're illiquid. So I'm not a big proponent of the 401k if you're a real estate investor, unless they're going to give you a match. If they're going to give you a match, you got to take the match. Dollar for dollar, they're going to give you a match, take the match. But above that, that's not the retirement plan for it. If you're real estate, you got to commit to real estate, right? And you better have your liquid bucket. So I'm preaching it again. And I could take clients through. You're right. I do a analysis of where they are, where they need to be, and then we get a game plan going forward.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny. My Daniel's reading Rich Dad Poor Dad right now.
Yeah.
And some of the principles that I teach came from the book that I read his book 25 years ago or whatever. So let's continue back in time. So you're doing real estate, but you were also a vice principal, right, down in Newark, and you're kind of living 2 lives, right? Trying to hustle during the day, in the schools, but then also doing real estate at night. But, I want to talk about psychology for a minute. What did it take you to quit the school, right? And then obviously real estate wasn't going in the right direction for all of us, and then commit to what you're doing? Because, I always use the frame indentured servant. Like, when we trade time for money, that's why I'm kind of unemployable. I think you are at this point too, because when you trade time for money, okay, you're getting $100,000 a year, but you got to be in this office for 8 hours a day. And that's for a lot of people. Like I say to my kids, you want to be an entrepreneur, you better be ready for the battle. Like, some people have the personality where they're better off being W-2, but what did you have to get over mentally to make that leap? Because I know there was a bunch of lean years and you had to get over that and commit to it. And I know that was probably a little scary.
Yeah. So let me see if I can answer it by this. In the beginning, I loved being the principal because it supplied a steady paycheck. It helped me on getting the mortgages, and it also helped me with my health benefits. And I had children. I have 3 beautiful daughters. So there was a security there, right? But we know that it's very hard to serve two masters. And I learned from a fireman in the business, and he was a fireman. He had his pension, and he would buy real estate. But I got to a point where I remember having to punch out, like literally put my finger in a time, like where they would punch the clock, my thumb, and I just felt like I was a caged animal. And I remember coming home telling my wife that I don't think I want to do this anymore. And she's like, well, how are we going to have the benefits? Like, where are we going to get the benefits from? And I called up our dear friend, Ron Spiaggi, who's done very, very well, Dr. Ronnie Spiaggi. And I said, Ron, let me ask you a question. Like, how do you do it? Like, how did you get the confidence to just break free and, be your own boss and not be a servant to anybody? And he basically said something that's not that profound. He's like, I just stroke a check. He's like, I just stroke a check. And I was like, wow, it's that easy. That's your answer to me. Just stroke a check.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. And then I just was like, I'm going to take a step, because I felt like the worst thing that could happen is I could go back and find another job, but I wasn't going to go back. I wasn't going to burn a bridge. And I took off, and I thank God, because I probably make in a month what I used to make for a whole year as a vice principal. And I don't say that to brag. I say that to say that it's hard taking the step. It's hard taking the step without seeing the staircase. But the whole adventure is taking the step without seeing the staircase. You follow? 100%. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, 100%. And, what you've done at Cornerstone and the culture you guys have and the servant leadership mentality that you have for your clients is amazing. I've watched it. And
Thank you.
I've watched it, and I'm very impressed with that, because it's very difficult to lead people, because in the beginning, sometimes they don't want to be led. Sometimes they don't want to grow, right? But in any kind of sales culture, right, if you put the client first, which you guys do, and I believe I do, and then you have the culture of, hey, guys, if we serve our clients and we're giving them something that's 10 times greater or 20 times greater or 100 times greater than the commission that we could earn, that's a good business model. Right? Like in 2008, the opposite model was that the mortgage swaps and some of the mortgage companies were only doing things to benefit their own commission. It was not good for the homeowner, right? And it was a crazy time. We did it honestly, but a lot didn't. But you guys are, have a servant leadership mentality, and I love that culture, because it's fear a lot of times in society with people that, whether they're getting a mortgage or a financial product, right? The first thing they're doing is looking at you or me or one of our salespeople and saying, can I trust this person?
Sure.
Right? And it's that servant leadership that makes a difference, because they can feel when you care about the client.
Yeah, a couple things. And I really appreciate that, Frank, because we work hard on that, right? It's not easy to develop a culture. Clearly, looking back for the movie that I just saw last night, The Big Short, was that, they weren't doing the right thing. They were not doing the right thing. It was greed driven. We're very, very servant leadership. And I've pounded into my guys and my team that your job is to serve. You got to serve the client, keep serving, serve the client. When you feel like you're tired, serve some more. One of our core values is servant leadership. And one of our quotes is, it's not about the commission, but it's about the mission to serve and help. And the law of reciprocity, right, will just work itself away. The more people you serve, the more money you make. It's a byproduct of what you're doing by serving. So anybody young on the call that's trying to just focus on the money, I would encourage you to redirect your focus on serving and helping, and the byproduct will be you make money. It may not sound normal right now, but give it time, it will. And if you do it the other way, you're guaranteed to fall. I promise you that it always will fall. The wheels will come off if you don't do it the right way. Hopefully that helps, Frank.
100%. It's the selfish, right, versus selfless. If the salesperson thinks about themselves all the time, they may steer the client into a certain product or service that's going to benefit them instead of the client. And yeah, maybe sometimes in some sort of business that might put a few more dollars in the salesperson's pocket. But in the end, if you're hurting the client, like, that's going to hurt you in the long run because you're not doing the right thing for your customers. I mean, there's lenders in the business that still are just trying to make as much money on the client on the loan. And I'm like, well, if they're upset with you and you don't get the 3 neighbors because they're upset with you as a referral, then what good did you do yourself? And you're not going to be blessed in your business if you're not doing the right things by your clients.
Yeah, and that's the law of reciprocity. If you don't know what it is, you should look it up. Right? Yeah. The universe has a way, whatever you believe in. I happen to believe in the good Lord, but whatever you believe in, that the reciprocity comes back and pays you tenfold. So it may not be now, it may not be tomorrow, but in due time it will pay.
Yeah.
And it took you and I a long time to realize that, because I think I'll speak for us. We used to have a competition on who was more prideful, right?
Yeah.
Who had more pride.
In our humble state, we then recognized that we were competing as prideful people.
It's
not good.
Not good.
Not so good. So, so I want you to explain a little bit about what Cornerstone does, what you guys do, because then I want to connect the dots between our 2 organizations, because there's an absolute synergy there. But explain to everybody, what you guys do, so then we can connect the dots.
Sure. I'd be well, first and foremost, I come at the financial service industry with a real estate background. So if you're a first-time buyer or you're an investor, I understand both. At one time, I was a first-time buyer. You know that I bought my first house at 22 years old. My first house was a foreclosure. And I built a good amount of rental property, I think roughly about 500 units. So I understand the mentality of a real estate investor. So what we did was we took that and we opened up a financial company to mirror some products and services and concepts with the real estate investor. Sit down, we look at what they're doing, where you go, and we give direction. And at no time are we charging a fee for that. We are not a fee company. We're a company that's going to sit down. We're going to develop a plan. And if you're a client of ours and you fit the criteria, which is somebody that is gritty, coachable, and looking to just better their financial situation, we'll sit, and myself or one of my trusted advisors will help you get a game plan for your future. It's not just real estate, as you know. It's got to be real estate and some supplementary investments that would help you get to where you need to go in your goals and futures. So,
yeah. As a quick example, when I had a mortgage company with our buddy Tom McHugh, right? We got a product from you guys that was a buy-sell agreement product, right? But it was a cash value product that we could take money from the company as an expense, put it into the thing. If I died, then the policy would get Allie money and get her out of the company. And if he died, vice versa, because neither one of us, kind of wanted to be partners with the wives, and neither one of our wives wanted to be in the mortgage business, believe me. And then when he and I decided to split up, I took money from the cash policy and I bought a property in LBI, and it was amazing. It was wow. At the time it was a 10% down second home. And then we're like, okay, we have 5 kids. This is only 800 square feet. Probably shouldn't keep it. We wanted to sell it and buy something else. And I made money on the property. Now, the mistake I made is I probably should have never sold it, because now LBI is untouchable and I'm mad at myself. But the point is that I bought that property with zero money out of my own pocket. It was from that policy.
So let me get this straight. This is a great story. So you and Tommy were partners, and I talked to you about, a buy-sell agreement, because you don't want to be partners with each other's wives. And we decided to do a product that was going to accumulate. It wasn't going to be an expense. It was going to be a savings. Mm-hmm. So you and Tommy decide to go different directions, and you take the cash value inside that policy. You buy a condo on the island of, because not everybody knows, Long Beach Island, which is in New Jersey. It's a shore town. And you then sell that, and you made money off that too?
We bought it for $320. I'll tell you the numbers. but we bought it for 320. Actually, it's funny because I won the bid at 321 because I always bid ones and sixes. I teach realtors this because everyone does zeros and fives.
Yeah,
Right?
smart.
So the guy listed it for 315. I knew there was going to be a few people that wanted it, so I bid 321. And then our buddy Paul Macarone is like 321 and done. Like, what the heck? I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of that. So it was crazy. So we bought it for 320. Cute little place. I still can't believe I sold it.
It was cute. I saw it. Really
yeah,
cute.
It was cute.
Yeah,
we sold it 14 months later for 445.
It's an unbelievable return.
Yeah, and I only was out of pocket the money that was inside that policy, which was 35 grand.
Yeah, so I guess the ability to have access to it, right? So these are things that we do, and that's a great story, Frank. I'm going to tell that story more, right? So I have some good sized real estate investors that are my clients, but I also like first time buyers, and I love young, aggressive entrepreneurs that are trying to figure it out. I think it's the right thing to do is to pay back. So I'm here to help.
Yeah. So let's talk about this now. Ready? Whether somebody is a first-time home buyer, right? Because that's, always like, it's like the beginning of the snake, right? Like in the beginning, money's stuck. Right? When you're 25 years old, you're just trying to get your down payment, whatever. Or take group 2 in my seminars, which is the current homeowner who might have some equity, like they were taught to put money in a 401k, whatever. And then you have your real estate investors who are out there hustling, right? So depending on where people are in their life cycle, obviously you guys have products that can help anybody and everybody because we go back to the imbalance. The imbalance, like people are usually like, okay, I'm just going to put money in my 401k my whole life, or yeah, I'm going to buy some real estate. But oftentimes it's not protected. Like they might have $2 million in mortgages, right? If they're a real estate investor, and the properties might be worth $4 million, but if they pass away, right, their wife might not be protected. Or what are you doing? We're not going to get too in details because some of them are a little complicated, some are simple. But what are you doing to make sure that you can have some tax shields, right? Some things, and you always say that you see the clients that have real estate that are 55, 60, 65 years old that you guys meet are usually better off than the people that never invested in real estate.
100%. 100%. And it doesn't have to be a colossal amount of real estate. It could be a second home. It could be a small little rental. The small little rentals are huge. A couple condos. When I sit with those retirees and they have that in their portfolio, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
One of the things I'd like to tell you, I don't know how much time we have, but one of my best real estate deals I ever did was Bill Barrett. Bill Barrett's dad. Bill Barrett's dad had 21 units up in Hudson Valley, New York. And he, at a family barbecue, was absolutely complaining about the fact that his partner died and he was now partners with the deceased partner's wife. And he was just adamant about them. They just did not get along. Okay. Because the truth about it is when somebody passes away, you're not partners with the wife, you're partners with the wife's attorney. I'm going to say that again. You're not partners with the wife. You're partners with the wife's attorney, right? Because they're the ones driving it. All right. So he's absolutely decimated. He wants out of this deal. Well, I buy this property from him for about $950,000, and he lent me about $200,000. So I think I came up with like 150. He held back 200,000. He just wanted out. I was like a knight in shining armor. Well, we did very little to the building, cleaned it up a little bit, maybe a paint job, but not a lot. We didn't put a lot into it. We sold that building for $1.4 million.
Wow.
And that was due to the fact that his pain was so great because he didn't have the buy-sell agreement in place backed by a life insurance policy.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is one of my greatest deals was what I try to defend people against. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And you learn, right? You learn in deals that you do so that you know how to advise people in the future. And that's kind of where, like I said earlier, that's where the Velocity Money came from, because the mistakes I made was the birth to the curriculum. And it's like you and I both got like 15 Harvard educations, right? We paid for it. Right? We paid. Like listen, I paid tenfold for the mistakes I made. I lost $500,000 on one mountain in Colorado, like one mountain. 2 properties, boom, gone. So that pain, which didn't feel very good at the time, turned into, okay, let's just follow the simple premise. You know, number one, you can't have pride. Number two, the numbers have to work. It can't be a cool beach town. It can't be a cool place in Colorado where money's coming into in 5 years. There has to be logic and mathematics around what we do. Now we go back to your clients or anybody that we're helping. When people want to start a real estate portfolio or have one, right? There's things that they have to do to be protected, to make sure that it's a well-rounded plan. That's my biggest thing is I always use the word pie chart. There's so many lopsided pie charts, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the connection comes with our businesses, because like I'm a big believer that everybody needs 3 pieces of real estate to retire, right? So I trademark 3 products that show people how to get in as inexpensively as possible. But then if you're a current homeowner, if you're sitting with equity buried in your backyard, I'm not telling you to strip the home of all the equity. I'm telling you reallocate some of the assets to buy more real estate. Now, you guys come in and you can layer up by looking at what they have and helping them make sure that it's a holistic plan, because I don't want them to have all real estate and nothing else either.
It doesn't make any sense. And I tell you, I think you're hitting the nail on the head. And I don't want to limit anybody. I don't want to limit anybody because I said I had about 500 units. But I like the 3 different pieces of property. That's a good controllable model where you don't have to have a management company. Yeah, you'll do some work, but it's controllable. And that's going to make a huge difference. So even if those properties, let's just say even simple math, 500 a piece, that's 1.5. If you accelerate it to 30 years and you got 1.5 of equity, you could either keep the cash flow plus whatever other investments you have, or you could sell and look to go into something else, because by that time maybe you're a little bit too tired to manage these properties. Yeah. But the point being made is you got to take a step, right? And and again, I won't tell you what to do or how far you need to take it, but if you were going to pick a number, 3 is a good number. I like that. I do.
3 is a number. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a nice number.
So a couple stats. Historically, real estate's doubled every 18 and a half years in America. So if you buy that 1.5, 18 and a half years later, it's going to be worth $3 million. With our formula, with the cash flow, we're going to show you how to use somebody else's money to pay them off in 20 years or less. So in 20 years, you're going to have 12 to 15,000 a month of cash flow and $3 million in real estate, right? And then maybe we put it in a trust for our kids, because if we leave the kids money, they might blow it. But if we put it in a trust, not letting them sell it, and you leave it for cash flow, rents have doubled in 10 years. That's the crazy part. Here's the irony. People are like, well, what if the market crashes? If the market crashes, rents go up because less people can buy because they're not working and unemployment's higher. So it's counterintuitive what the news channels teach people. And you and I have always been like the Tasmanian devil. I always tell Rob, you always blitz the quarterback. Like sometimes you have to drop back in coverage, but he was a very good blitzer. But so you guys don't have to be kind of maniacs like we were, but you can learn from what we did and have a sustainable plan with the Harvard educations that we got. And I mean, I love dealing with your people because they're educated. And when we try to help a client together, there's a synergy there. And as I said earlier, it's the same goal of, we just want to help people, and then you fit the products for each person according to what they need.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. I think the Tasmanian devil type deal was, driving the donkey up the mountain. We probably should have slowed down, smelled the roses a little bit. Maybe I really wish I had somebody like me now to give that advice. I had some guys, but one of them was probably way too aggressive. So I guess my back 9 and your back 9 is to help these young men and women figure it out. And it's not all go, go, go. You gotta play defense once in a while.
Yeah, you went black for a second. All good. Yeah, 100%. So let's recap. Cornerstone financial firm, helping people with many different products. Whether you're at the beginning stage of your real estate life cycle or later on down the road, we have some products that can help people. But we're just having a lot of fun helping people. And, you know, it's funny because, you know, I have two businesses, right? We have a mortgage company, which is doing well. And then we have a coaching company, which I'm really passionate about. And we just literally yesterday filmed a first-time home buyer virtual seminar material where I'm going to sell to people very inexpensively. And we're going to help them kind of move along in the life cycle of buying real estate, because it starts with the first property. But if when you and I were 24 years old, somebody said to us, hey, I can get you real estate with 100% financing, we would have jumped on that, right? Of course. Well, that's what it is for a current homeowner in America whose values just went up by 50% or 100% because of all the craziness. So, guys, if you're a current homeowner, we can take money out of your house, and we have a formula that we call the Power 4 that shows you a foolproof strategy to buy more real estate. And in the Power 4, if it doesn't fit into the formula, you don't buy it. Then at some point today or tomorrow or in a year, Robert and his team, they're my guys. Like, there's no other financial services company that I recommend at all. And they will help you with a plan to make sure that you're protected, you're safe, money's growing, and all these things that are going on.
I appreciate that, Frank. That's nice to say. And you're my mortgage guy, and I'm sitting in my house that you did my mortgage for.
And I own 20%. So how does everybody get in touch with you? Do you want to give us phone number, email? Jasmine will put it on the screen.
Sure. Why don't we do email, right? We'll do my real estate email. So Jazz, it's Core, C-O-R-E, Realty, R-E-A-L-T-Y, Corp, C-O-R-P, at gmail.com. So Core Realty Corp at gmail.com. And you can text me at my cell phone number. Oh, it's already up there. Look at Jazz.
She knows your number.
She's on. She's on. You don't need any help. Thanks, Jazz.
She knows your number.
Yeah, that's my cell phone number. You guys could text me. That'd be great. I'm here to help anyone that needs help. Even if you want to just make sure you're going on the right track. So
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, guys, this has been a pleasure sharing. Robert, it's been a pleasure. Enjoy your birthday. What are you guys doing tonight? Anything fun?
Well, the dog's going to keep barking. They let the dog in after I let it out. Specifically, when you told me to make sure the dog's not in there. We're gonna go for dinner tonight. Frank, hey everybody! Frank calls my dog a Guido, right? So he doesn't want my dog messing with his pretty dog.
Well, yeah, you know, he was hitting on her when you came to visit, and I didn't appreciate that. I'm a little. Ali says,
he really was.
Yeah, Ali says I like the dogs better than I like the kids.
It's true. Yeah, good. Thanks for having me on, Frank. Good seeing you.
Okay, guys. Love you all. God bless, guys. Thanks, Rob.
Love you.